I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today our guest is Mia Howard, and she's the founder of Intrepid Charter School. We'll be back to talk to her after this.
Talkopolis programming is sponsored in part by the Vane Center, now celebrating 10 years service in Nashville, Tennessee.
Welcome, Mia.
Thank you for having me.
So you are kind of in the brave new world of charter schools, and I'd like to just back up a little bit and say, how did you get into this? Are you an educator by training and went to education school and decided to do this, or kind of how'd you get here?
No, I'm actually not, and I don't have an education background. I do consider myself now an educator, having been in the work for 4 years. But actually, my background was in communication studies, and actually was on a journalist track in college, and then spent my summers interning in the communication departments of a Wall Street bank. That parlayed into my first professional experiences on Wall Street, and I actually worked at Lehman Brothers until it collapsed.
Yeah.
And used that as an opportunity to go to law school with a focus on helping Main Street better understand finance, because I saw it close up and I saw the subprime mortgage crisis very close up. And I decided, that that's where I wanted to make an impact. Over the course of law school, realizing that that wasn't the change I could make wouldn't be fast enough, I became compelled by this idea that I could actually teach financial literacy in schools, starting from 5th grade, and really ingrain it into the curriculum.
One of the fun things about talking to the entrepreneurs is, I think a lot of people assume it's a very linear, planned route. And so many of us kind of end up where we are through this strange chain of events. And I think your path is, in a lot of ways, is more typical than a lot of people realize. So the goal of what you're trying to do is prepare kids to be financially literate and make their way in the world?
Yes, at Intrepid College Prep, we believe that college preparation, life preparation, absolutely includes financial discipline, and not just the balancing your checkbook stuff that they teach you in a personal finance course. I mean, they have to understand high finance. They have to understand the way the world works if they're going to be...
Okay, so tell me how you do this with kids. This is great. I love this.
So it starts with 5th grade. That's our entry point. And students take a financial literacy
So you're teaching
class.
them arbitrage in 5th grade, or?
Not yet, no.
Right,
But we
6th grade.
But in 8th grade, actually. We have a scope and sequence that starts with 5th grade, goes all the way up through 12th. And the 5th through 8th grade curriculum is really what you think of when you think of personal finance and entry-level business concepts. And then the high school curriculum...
So it's cash flow. Is it also investing, kind of simple
Yeah,
investing?
next year we'll start investing for our rising 7th graders. And then the high school curriculum is actually just the freshman syllabus at Wharton.
Freshman syllabus at Wharton.
We're just going to teach that because I went to Penn for law school, so I'm going to use all my Wharton contacts and just teach the freshman course.
High school kids.
Our high school kids, just teach them the freshman syllabus for the Wharton Business School.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What are you going to teach them the sophomore year?
I'm just going to break up the freshman year course over 4 years of our high school.
Okay.
So that when they come to college, they already have more than enough knowledge around.
So they're going to understand the time value of money.
Exactly. They understand that now. Yeah, we taught them that last year.
I'm a business professor. What in the world am I going to do with these kids by the time they get there?
I want them to be entrepreneurs. I want them to, never fear creation. I want them to go into that world, never. There's always the risk, right? That's why we're meeting. Entrepreneurs are always learning things, but I want them to just have less barriers to entry than their parents did. I mean, our students are 60% Hispanic and or speak a language at home other than English.
Right.
A lot of their families.
Yeah, I was involved in a charter school kind of in your neck of the woods over there, and it's a very diverse community over
exactly,
there.
And a lot of our parents
very
are
few people, whose English is the native language at home too. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of our parents are sole proprietors of businesses, and
so how do you sell the parents on this? How do you say, I'm going to teach them business curriculum in high school?
Pretty easily. I mean, the national story around finance kind of tells itself.
Right.
Every person has a story about how the last 6 years have been challenging or difficult in one way or another. And a lot of our families come to America, right, looking for those types of opportunities,
Right.
And then get into the public school system, which unfortunately here in Nashville up until now hasn't fulfilled promises that they've made to parents about
Right.
what's possible. So it was actually not as hard a sell as you would think.
So have you had pushback? I mean, you are basically a public school, but this is such a radical departure. How have you kind of navigated
Yeah.
that waters in terms of staying true to your vision and your mission while still fitting in that sort of public school
Yeah.
model?
Well, we have an extended school day, so we don't ever sacrifice the core curriculum to take this departure into financial literacy.
So they're getting traditional education plus.
Yeah, and as we get older, it gets easier. As the students get older, it gets easier to merge them more naturally.
Yeah, into mathematics and into writing classes.
Into social studies
Right.
when they learn about Civil War and they learn about antebellum and they learn about slavery. They learn about the economics of slavery.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, talk about, you kind of went from a very traditional private sector kind of person, and now you're a social entrepreneur.
Yes.
And what have been what are the challenges of making that transition? Because there are a lot of things that are the same, but there are things that are different too.
Yeah.
Your sources of funding are different, and expectations are different.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me was learning how to manage people. I mean, going from the legal sector where you're interacting with a computer, you're writing long memos. There wasn't really anything that I'd interacted with up until now that really forced me to have to learn how to, inspire, motivate, help people navigate personal and professional challenges.
Sure.
And those are the types of experiences I could have read a gazillion books on, but you kind of learn by trial by fire. So that startup year last year was really challenging as a result.
Well, and having been involved in a lot of charter schools myself over the years, it's rarely the curriculum that causes failure in charter schools. It's the management, it's the fiscal side of things that usually does them in. So that's what you really do have to pay attention to early on.
Yes, and we've been fortunate that organizations like the Tennessee Charter School Center launched to create sort of a base of knowledge, and they offer classes.
It's a great group,
and they connect you to vendors that can help you get started in a lot of those areas. And this, like I said before, this year is a really pivotal year for us as we switch from the initial funding streams that support the launch of new schools, and then the switch to donors asking to see that your model is sustainable fiscally, and commit donors for the long haul.
I in the classes I teach in entrepreneurship, I get a pretty good mix of both traditional entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs. And at first the social entrepreneurs say, oh no, my funding is completely different. I said, not really. I said, both of you are going to have to look for an initial source of funding to kind of get you going. This may be friends and family and fools, and it may be investors. Over here it's foundations. But both of you eventually, in today's world, have to become self-sustaining. I think with a social entrepreneur, that's the key, is just like a traditional entrepreneur, you've got to make this thing cash flow and support itself.
Yeah, and the two challenges there are, you mentioned earlier, how do I stay true to the mission and vision?
Right.
Well, in the startup years, the mission and vision is us even convincing families that this is the right fit for them. A lot of the families that when we knock on their door aren't aware that their local zone school isn't high performing. And so first you have to educate, and then you have to convince them that you're the right solution. And so as the school grows and evolves, parents get pretty savvy about choice. And they start to say, well, if I'm going to stay, these are the types of things that I want, out of a school. And so how do we marry the original vision of what the school is supposed to be, based on all the research and just the successful models that we've seen, and let that also evolve with the parent vision for what they want for their children.
So you've got the middle school, junior high school going now.
Yes.
And have you filed for the high school charter?
It was one charter, so we opened as a 5 through 12, which is
wow.
also unique.
That is very unusual in Tennessee.
It is. There are two other schools that launched with that model, and they eventually combined, and so that's something that we're going to have to look at closely is, are there other operators in the area that are doing something that we're doing well, or can we combine effectively? Because, high schools have to have AP classes and just a whole other array of resources that we don't have at this time. Sports, exactly. Music, arts.
Right.
And you get more economies of scale, obviously, if you have more students. So.
Well, this has been delightful, and what
Yeah.
an awesome model. I had no
Yeah.
idea this was going on here in Nashville,
Yeah.
and what a creative approach
Thank you.
and a cool journey getting there. So.
We're still on that journey.
All right, Mia, thanks
All
for
right,
coming in.
thank you.